I've always been someone who enjoys an early morning run to clear my head, but it was on a particular evening that I'll never forget when everything changed. My friend Ryan and I had started running together about a month ago, mainly around our neighborhood, which is tucked away in the quieter part of town. It's the kind of place where most people know each other, and the streets are usually calm. There's a main road that runs through, and a few offshoots lead to residential streets or larger estates with woods nearby. It's peaceful, safe, or so we thought. On this particular night, we decided to try something a little different. Instead of sticking to the usual route, we chose to venture down the main road, taking the path that led deeper into the woods. It was quiet, no one else around, and the only sounds were the occasional rustling of leaves or the distant chirp of crickets. The air was cool, the kind of night where the chill feels refreshing against the skin after a long run. We talked as we ran, mostly about work, plans for the weekend, and the usual nonsense. The deeper we ran, the less familiar the surroundings felt. The streetlights grew farther apart, and eventually, we were running along a dirt path surrounded by dense trees on either side. The moon was barely visible through the thick canopy above, casting everything into a shadowy haze. My heart picked up its pace, but I chalked it up to the isolation, being so far from home. As we ran, I began to hear something. At first, I thought it was just the echo of our own footsteps in the silence. But no, there was another set of footsteps, keeping perfect pace behind us. I glanced at Ryan, but he hadn't noticed yet. We kept running, the footsteps staying in sync with us. "Hey, you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Ryan shot me a glance, clearly distracted, but his expression tightened as he slowed just a fraction. I had hoped I was just being paranoid. "Probably just someone else out here," Ryan said, but his voice didn't sound as sure as it usually did. But then it happened. As we picked up our pace, the footsteps did the same. When we slowed down, they slowed too. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The adrenaline hit, and suddenly, all of my previous thoughts about the peaceful run had vanished. "Let's just head back," I suggested, my breath quickening, even though we hadn't been running long. We turned around and began retracing our steps, but the footsteps didn't stop. They were still behind us, as if they were following our every move. The crunch of the dirt beneath someone's shoes was undeniable now. It was like we weren't alone anymore. "Okay, this is freaky," Ryan said, his voice finally giving away the fear I had been trying to suppress. We broke into a run, sprinting toward the main road, hoping we'd make it back to the streetlights. But before we could make it out of the woods, we heard a rustling noise from the trees to our left. I froze mid-step. From between the trees, a dark figure appeared, standing stock still in the shadows, just watching us. I couldn't make out any details at first, but the shape of the figure was unmistakable. It was tall, unnaturally still. My stomach turned. "Who's there?" Ryan called out, trying to sound confident, but his voice cracked. I could feel his pulse racing beside me. There was no answer. Instead, the figure just stood there, staring at us, almost like it was waiting for something. I could see the faint glint of something, eyes maybe, shining in the darkness. The figure's outline was vague, but I felt its gaze like a physical weight on me. Without warning, the figure took a step forward. I turned to Ryan. "Run!" We didn't need another word. We tore down the path, our feet pounding against the dirt, our lungs burning as the trees blurred around us. But behind us, the footsteps kept pace, faster now, getting closer. It was as if the figure wasn't just walking, but stalking, always gaining on us. Every time we looked over our shoulders, we saw nothing but shadows, but the breathing, ragged deep, was right behind us, close enough to make the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. It felt like we were being hunted. We finally reached the streetlight at the edge of the woods. The light bathed the area in safety, but as I looked behind us, I saw nothing. The footsteps stopped. Ryan and I were gasping for air, sweat dripping down our faces. We both turned in unison, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. There was nothing. But just as we were about to breathe a sigh of relief, we heard it. A laugh, low, guttural, like a child's giggle, off-key and unnatural. It echoed from the trees, sending a shiver through my spine. "Did you hear that?" I asked, almost not wanting to believe what I was saying. Ryan's face was pale as he nodded. "We need to get back. Now." We didn't need to say anything more. We turned and ran back toward the neighborhood, faster than we ever had before, feeling the thud of each footstep echoing in our chests. The laugh followed us like a taunt, a reminder that whatever it was in the woods, it wasn't finished with us. When we finally made it back to my house, I slammed the door shut behind us, locking all the windows and doors. My heart was still racing, my breath shaky. I don't know how I slept that night, but I'm sure it wasn't peacefully. We haven't run at night since.